What was the task that you hated the most as a manager? What was,
Ooh,
Sean, you got to do this? And you're like, I really don't want to do this.
I didn't like film. I had a really tough time being in the film room, and some of that was like ego. I was convinced like I needed to be on the court in case they needed help with the drill. Like
Yeah.
I was the guy, which was like in hindsight really stupid. Once I like, it was also me being afraid to mess up the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to be the one where coach is trying to run something back in practice and you've like didn't hit record.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like film. But there's a really, not to get us too sidetracked, but I think this is a really cool story. At the end of my freshman year as a manager, we had like powwows to reflect on the year. And I go in and I'm like, all right, yeah, it was a good year. We lost in the first round, but I'll be back. And Ryan's senior year, and I'm looking forward to it. And summer's going to be fun or whatever. And my freshman co-managers wanted to meet with me first. I'm not thinking anything of it. We sit down, and I'm on the other side of the table from them. So I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And they basically, I still get worked up thinking about it. They basically said like, hey, you didn't do enough. Like, you didn't come to optional stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you're always trying to like be on the court. Like, you're not stepping up for the hardest jobs. They asked me to quit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. Like, not straight up asked me to quit, but they're basically just like, if this is like how you plan to do this, like
Then
we don't really want
it.
you. Yeah. And I remember I went home ripped. Like I went home to Raleigh. Because I'm also thinking like it's my brother's senior year. I'm not gonna like, what do you mean? I want to be there for all that. And I remember I went home to my mom, and like I don't use a lot of language in front of my mom, but I remember being like, this is bull and da, 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 da. I can't believe they do this to me. And she let me get it all out. And I was like, I work hard. And then I'll never forget. She said, is it true? Like after you got all that out, is it true? And it was. And I remember just being like, that was a pivotal moment, not just in my time at Duke, but just like in life. Like you get criticized, yeah, it stinks, but is it true? And so I had to kind of come back and make that right, and not talk about making it right, but start doing more and being more available and be more willing and going to the optional shoot arounds, and someone needs a rebounder at night. And but that was, I think that tells you how Duke, like the standard doesn't just sit at the top. Like a group of freshman managers were like, no, you're not meeting it. And we know what it takes, and we all got to be on the same cadence, and you're not. Yeah. And that was really hard. But I work in a school now and coach, and I talk to kids like about that. I'll just say, look, at the end of the day, something was really hard. You got cut from a team. Something didn't go the way you wanted. You didn't do well on something, but ask yourself, is it true? And that was like, that was almost the end of my Duke experience with basketball. So I'm glad it wasn't. There was more story to go, but yeah, it was really intense. I'm grateful for those guys for doing it. We're still all obviously friends, but that was really hard.
Yeah, man. Being a manager is not being a manager at Duke is not a job for the faint of heart, man. You guys work hard, and we appreciate it, but it's rough, man, and it's really serious. It's taken extremely serious. So okay, most of the people listening are Duke fans and watch Duke games. So explain to us and it's been on ESPN a few times and stuff like that. Explain to us the manager sprint at halftime in Cameron.
Oh gosh. Oh man. So that's a moment of pride. So basically, like on game day, you have a whole operation. Like you've got people on the bench that all have very specific roles. You've got people that are on drinks or hydration. You've got people that are on a board for coach. Actually, I don't know if a manager does the board anymore. It used to be that a manager had the whiteboard, a chair for coach during timeouts, like everything, you were ready. We were signaling when it was under, all the under timeouts, like everyone signaled each other. So the moment there's a dead ball. So it's just like very intense on game day. And we've got a locker room set up. And so there's a couple of like things that you need to do that you need to beat. You don't need to, but you're trying to beat the players to holding doors, because the doors have key codes.
Yeah.
So like you don't want anyone hung up on the door trying to get into the locker room, especially if it's like an intense finish. You just want to be able to get the doors open so that everyone can just get in and start talking. Because like you probably remember, it's like depending on what's going on, there's some talking like immediately. We're good. We got to do this before it settles down for coach. And so it's getting the doors open. It's getting set up in the locker room for coach. So like if he wants a marker for board, like just making sure everything's ready to roll depending on what he needs and what you guys need, because you guys are asking for stuff too at that time. So the idea is just get there first so that everything, and if something, sometimes this stuff pops up, like someone needs something. I need this. Can you grab that? I need a different pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And so like you're just trying to, the sooner you're there, the more quickly you can react. So the sprint is once the gap closes, like in that corner of Cameron, maybe either players are in your way or once it starts to squeeze, it's really hard to get through. So the whole point is like get there first and then set up, like be ready to roll. So that's the sprint.
Is that like you guys have I know you guys have meetings, you guys will meet after games and before games and stuff. Is that like something that's gone over in the pregame? Like, okay, Sean and Ian, you guys are baseline. As soon as halftime hits, you guys got to take off.
Yeah, but actually the maybe I'm misremembering. I think the baseline guys will get doors, but only the upperclassmen managers were in the locker room. So it was like senior managers actually were in the meetings and stuff. And so, yes, there was you knew what you were doing. There were roles, you knew who was going where, you knew who was setting what up, you knew which assignment you had pregame. You knew who was up in the film room, because even at home games, you have a manager up in the film room, cutting the TV run. So like cutting out the commercials of the broadcast. So yeah, everyone has a role and you know what you're doing and you know where you're going, but you also have to be responsive.
Yeah. Like, what is that like, so the senior managers kind of run stuff. What is that? What are they telling you if you're like, okay, Sean, you're on the baseline and at halftime you got to get to the locker room? Is it like you have to sprint, or is it just like a thing that you know?
You're told.
Oh,
You're told. It's not like mean, but it's just like it's serious. I mean, the whole thing is serious, and there's a lot of like people take a lot of pride in doing it well. And so there's like as much as there's a history of players and tradition, there's a history of managers. Like managers will come back and play pickup with us. There just is you got to hold the line. Like the standard shouldn't change.
Yeah.
One thing changed that drove me nuts. I'm very jealous of new managers. We had to wear dress shoes. On game day.
Yeah.
And when you had to run out on the court and wipe the sweat, you would scuff up the floor. They finally moved to everyone wearing just black Nikes. So the sprint is a little more comfortable.
Yeah. That's the other thing, man. Sprinting in dress shoes that's tough. Are you nervous? Are you nervous on the sprint? Are you like, I got to keep my knees up, like I can't face plant here? We're on ESPN or something.
I mean, you don't want to run into anybody, but I feel like the sprint became more of a thing after I was there, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention, or like I didn't want to engage with it. But I feel like it became it got on ESPN and like blogs and stuff, but I don't remember it being like, I don't remember making fun of ourselves at the time. Like I remember being really serious.
Yeah. So as players, I remember moments, in film and stuff like that where, even in practice sometimes where it's like really hard not to start laughing, when something funny happens. Like Josh Harrison was really bad because I used to sit next to him all the time, and he would tap me with his leg and stuff. And so it'd be really hard not to laugh when like funny stuff happens. But obviously like everything is super serious, especially in film and really a lot on the court. So, like we make eye contact and when something funny happens. Like, did you ever have moments where like it was you you're like about to lose it and you're like, no, I can't because this will be really bad for me?
Yeah, I got one good one. I got a good story for you. This is a good one. We're playing at UVA. We had just won at Louisville, but before that, we lost 2 games in a row. I think like at Notre Dame and against either State or Miami at home. So we're at UVA, and it's before they get rid of. Is it JPJ was the old one, or is that the new one?
Yeah, John Ball was the old one, I think.
Or Reynolds, whatever it was. It's before they took down the old stadium, and so we're doing walkthrough in the old stadium, and UVA's offense is like it's a rhythm.
Yeah.
So like it's a cycle that you're just running through.
It's so annoying. I hate it. I hate guarding.
And we were running scout. And so we were kind of walking through it. And Coach Shire was in it, and me and some other guys. And we were a little flat. Like the walkthrough just was a little flat. And you know when Coach knows like it's flat and he makes sure to like, hey, it's like a volcano getting ready to go. So you're like, all right, we got to pick it up.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to start snapping the ball, like move through it. Like don't walk basically, like start going, not full speed, like scrimmage, but make the defense think quickly.
Yeah.
So I catch it and my job is to swing it over to the right wing where Coach Shire is supposed to be. And I'm trying to go fast. And so I'm kind of like throwing before I look. Like I know where it's going, but I'm not like turning my head and looking. I'm whipping it around pretty quickly. What I don't see is that Coach has stepped in to coach something in the passing lane. And he's got all his stuff, like his scout and stuff, in his hand. So his hands aren't free. So it's funny. That was not funny at the time. It was really, I thought I was like going to get kicked off the team. So I just throw it and it just like, it doesn't hurt him. It's not like going that fast, but it just peg him in the arm and he can't do anything. Like it just, his hands are full. So there's nothing he can do. So I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And he just basically just goes, keep going, like keep going, like just reset and go. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy he didn't like chew me out or be super angry. And I went up right after practice. I'm sorry, Coach. I just was trying to move quick. I didn't even see you walk in. And he goes, oh, you're fine. And then Quinn comes up to me as we're like walking out to the bus. And he's like, how could you do that? Like, and, Quinn. And like, so I start laughing. Not Coach is out of sight now. Like, Quinn, I just didn't even see him. Really, I just was. And he was like, don't laugh. So I thought he was coming in to joke with me. And he was like, don't laugh. It's not funny. And I was like, oh, man. I was so scared that night. But yeah, that one was one where I was like, kind of being funny. And I was like, oh, this isn't funny.
Yeah.